What is up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Cologne, and this is my review for the April 3rd episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian_180 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Fanbase, Blue Sky, and you can follow me, like I said, on Facebook and everything. So, tonight's AEW Dynamite, this was, for the most part, it was a good episode. There were a few things that a lot of people, including myself, were just like, it's not clicking, and, can we move on for this? We did get a surprise turn that, I don't know how much of a surprise it was, because you kind of seen hints of it leading to this, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But overall, this was a fun episode of Dynamite. A lot of people were really looking forward to, I shouldn't say forward, but they were really looking to see what AEW's response was going to be with all the talk regarding AEW, Tony Khan, and, the whole CM Punk interview with Ariel Helwani. So, few eyeballs, or I should say a lot of eyeballs are looking at AEW. It's like, okay, how are you going to respond? And that goes into one of the 5 things that stood out to me in this episode of AEW Dynamite, and that is Adam Copeland's promo. So he comes out, and he was already advertised for the show, excuse me, guys. He comes to the ring, and he gives this promo that, granted, depending on how you see it, some people could see it, it's pro AEW, or it's, he's, someone told him to spin, the bad press or anything like that. For me, I just took it at face value. He's speaking this, with time, things will come out and everything. But I thought this was a very passionate, great promo. There's an old saying, you accentuate the positives and you work on the negatives and everything. And he really highlighted a lot of things that he liked about AEW and what's a lot of people like about AEW, which, with everything that was said on Monday in the Punk Helwani interview, for me, this was probably the best way to respond to all of that. I know some people are like, well, it should have been this person, it should have been that person. Now, this was the right guy to do it. This was your vet. He's responding to someone who worked at AEW, their experience, who is also a vet. So it's like, okay, if one vet, had this experience, and, it's pretty much, depending on your interpretation, it's negative, or, all this, that whole thing. Adam Copeland was, for me, the right person to do it because, one, knowing Adam Copeland's track record as far as, not only on screen, but just, people who've interacted with him, he's very objective and everything. That's what I took from this promo, that it was a very objective promo from his experience, and what he sees in AEW, what AEW's offers for him, and what he sees AEW offer for other people. So I thought it was a great response. I know a lot of people were anticipating Tony Khan just going on his tweet storm, but at the same time, we also have to remember that AEW has been going through a lot of growing pains. They're kind of coming out of the growing pains, so now it's just growth. Kosha Irby and a few other Peppermint with the creative and everything. So there's a lot of changes going on. So for me, I didn't anticipate Tony Khan just tweeting everything, because that's going to take focus on what they're trying to do, and what they're looking to do is grow and expand AEW. And you don't grow and expand AEW by shooting off a lot of tweets and all that other stuff that Tony Khan is kind of known for to some degree. But man, Adam Copeland, he gets in. He's like, I came to talk to you. There's been a lot of negative BS this week. I want to talk about the positive. There's a whole lot of positives. He's like, I'm a fan of pro wrestling. Um, this is the point to celebrate it all. The point of this is to celebrate all of it. Um, when he mentioned WWF, everybody boo. He's like, no, 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 no. That's not what this is about. And I like that. I like that. Um, I think it's time right now. And granted, there is a competition to some degree of promotions and everything, but to really confront and really kind of squash this tribalism, that's one way to start it. Um, because it's gone out of hand. Um, to a big degree, it's gotten out of hand, and unfortunately, um, there's people that are in the wrestling industry that are contributing to this tribalism, toxic behavior that people are just, exhausted by. Like, man, this is just, I just want to enjoy wrestling. And that's what I feel this promo did. And he mentions WWF, NWA, Stampede, International. He's like, I love pro wrestling. 9 years I had this torn away from me. And I realized AEW is the place where I needed to end my career. I look back, in the locker room. He points to the back. He's like, I looked at, you know, a murderer's row of talent. He just lists the names and everything. Um, and this was really interesting. He's like, I will put this locker room against any of the locker rooms I've been in. And that's saying something because Adam Copeland, he was a part of the Attitude Era, that explosion that contributed to WWE going public and what it is today. So for him to say that, that's saying a lot as far as how much talent is in AEW. Um, so I thought, man, that's a big tip of the nod. Like, man, he's giving these guys, a nod. Um, he gives a shout out to Kenny Omega. He's like, I hope you're doing good. And he's like, all the names that I list, these are first time matchups. This isn't, these aren't people that I uh, have already faced. Like, these are people I've never faced that I want to face. Um, this is the most fun I've had in a 32-year career. Um, I celebrate the Bucks. I celebrate Kennedy, and he mentions Cody, and that's cool. That is really cool. We love this. AEW has pushed this industry in a better place. That is factual. Um, they've made it a great place for content creators. They made it a great place for fans who were looking for an alternative. They've contributed to a lot of good memories from fans, um, you know, at various events. Granted, at some events, some fans got out of hand. That's on the fans. But for the most part, they've contributed a lot of good things for pro wrestling. And honestly, we have to admit, if it wasn't for AEW existing, it would not have kind of pushed WWE into the creative direction that we see today with the main event that we see at WrestleMania and everything. So, that's the importance of having um, competition in pro wrestling, especially a strong competition and alternative like AEW that pushes WWE into the creative direction that is in. And also, let's keep in mind there are other factors that contributed to WWE creative, improving and everything. But man, he goes into AEW is where the best wrestle. The tagline that Tony Khan tweeted, a lot of people gave him flack for it. Look, it is what it is. Um, he's like, I asked for this time. AEW is moving forward, and this is something that I thought was really interesting that he mentioned. There's a reason Ospreay, Mercedes, and Okada came here, and myself came here, and that speaks volumes. And it it brings a spotlight on the alternative as far as wrestlers. There's some wrestlers that want to go to WWE, and there's other wrestlers that, hey, this looks like a good fit for me. WWE may not be a good fit for me, but this is a good fit for me. And that's cool because not everything is the same place. I mean, let's face it, there's different movie companies, there's different restaurants, there's different clothing stores, there's different hardware stores, there's different football teams, there are different football leagues, different baseball league. Look, there's a variety, and in pro wrestling is no different. And I think it's, again, it's been 20 years since there's been 20 plus years that there's been competition or an alternative strong like AEW. And to some people, it might be new. For others, like myself, great, good old days. But man, this was a really great promo to respond to just the negative, contentious discourse surrounding AEW. And I thought it really set the tone for AEW sending the message like, hey, this is who we are. This is why we're here. This is why people come here. It was basically AEW's way through Adam Copeland of establishing like, this is who we are. We're gonna focus on the stories that we're telling, the direction we're going. This is where we're going. If the discourse outside of AEW is focused on the past, we're not focused on it. We're going in this direction. I thought that was a really just shows the direction that AEW is going. That it's not, what some discourse is regarding AEW. So I thought that was really interesting and really cool. But man, it led into a very cool 2 matches basically, because after that, he's like, I'm going to introduce you to the future of AEW, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay comes up. They get man. There's a nice picture of Ospreay and Adam Copeland shaking hands, and Adam Copeland has a TNT title. And I'm like, man, is this some type of foreshadowing that Ospreay is going to challenge Copeland for the title? I thought that was really cool, and it was, again, this ties into his promo. It's establishing we're moving forward, like we're focused on the future. We're focused on growth, and that's cool. And of course, some people may not like it. Some people may think like, oh, AEW is just, it's not the same. It's not this, it's not that. Take it from someone that's dealt and been in upstarts, whether it's restaurants or radio stations. There is a growing process. Like, none of this is easy. None of it is, oh, wow, everything's good. Like, no, there's going to be times where it's just like, yee. And then when you come through that, it's going to be like, all right, cool. And things are just going to be running. And that's where AEW is at right now. They got a lot of talent to present a lot of good things for wrestling fans. And, they're putting the pieces together. Some of the pieces, like, other pieces, like, okay, I like this. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But, Will Ospreay comes out, and then you have Will Ospreay and Powerhouse Hobbs. They have a fantastic match. Go see that match. There was a spot where Ospreay did his flying twister maneuver, and it looked like it hit Hobbs in the head, kind of stunned him a little bit. Hit the hidden blade, pinned him 1, 2, 3 post match. Hobbs, moves away from Don Callis as Don Callis is trying to raise his hand, and Power Hobbs just charges at Ospreay, and it's like, oh, okay, we're getting some dissension. Then he walks away. Hopefully Hobbs is getting away from Powerhouse Hobbs. This show tonight, there's a few things on here where it's like, okay, AEW kind of needs to like wrap some things up and move on. Like, there's some turns that need to happen. Like, can we move forward and get out of this, like, man, what's the word I'm looking for? Description I'm looking for. Kind of like this, like a tire being in like mud and the tire spinning. Like, no, can we like just move it forward and just get out of this? Then afterwards, Ospreay, he's walking up the ramp. Danielson's music hits. Danielson comes out there doing a yes chant, and him and Ospreay have this face off. And then, man, I gotta tell you, Lance Archer, that man has had some of the most underrated matches in AEW. And I have to say that Lance Archer is probably one of the most underrated wrestlers right now in pro wrestling, in all of pro wrestling. Because this match between him and Bryan Danielson, this was a fun match, man. And what I liked about this match was Bryan Danielson did one of the most logical things that makes sense. Lance Archer is this tall, Bryan Danielson is this tall. What is someone who's this tall going to do to someone this tall? You're going to work on his leg. And he worked on his left leg and everything. I thought that was real cool. Just the, the story that Danielson was telling in this match was just a strategic story. Like, hey, I want to win this match, but I got to work on this guy's leg. Like, I got to make him, not as full strength as he is, because if he's full strength, I'm just done. And, the way the match ended was just great. He did a bunch of roundhouse kicks, then a running knee pin, gets the pin, you do the yes chant and everything. That was a really cool setup. I liked it. I'm looking forward to the Ospreay Danielson match. Because man, that's gonna be a banger. That's gonna be a banger. It's gonna be fun. And I don't think people realize how much that match. Man, that match might be match of the year. And that's saying something, because Ospreay has had like matches that are match of the year candidates for like the last 4 years. Actually, yeah, the last 4 years. So, that's something that, man, I'm looking forward to it. Then the next thing that stood out to me, and this I gotta say, this contract signing between Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland was one of the most punctual and to the point contract signing. Samoa Joe said what he said, Swerve said he said, boom. Like, it didn't go back and forth. It didn't drag or anything. It didn't feel like they were just trying to move something along. Like, it got to the point. Samoa Joe brings up, his meteoric rise, his battles with Hangman Page. He's like, you've been receiving bad information. You've been working on, signing this contract is a big mistake. It's a career-defining mistake. It's going to make you scared. Actually, I'm reading my notes, but this was funny because he dropped the Diddy line. He's like, "This is gonna make you scared, like you left Diddy's party late." Ooh, the crowd just like, ooh, ooh. That was a good line. And then after he says that, whose house? Swerve's house chant started breaking out. Swerve, he goes into, I wanted this moment all my life. We're building a dynasty in AEW. Then MJF chants break out. Now, there's been a lot of discourse as far as MJF is going to show up at WrestleMania. Is he still with AEW? As of this moment, he is still with AEW. He's recovering from injuries. There's no, his contract ended. He's recovering from a lot of serious injuries. His hip, his rotator cuff. There was something else that he had injured besides that. So it's just a lot of stuff that he's, healing from. And that was back in December. It's January, February, March, April. Some things take 4 months, but there's the injuries that he's had, and to the extent that he was wrestling with those injuries, like, it takes about 6 months to heal. Now, granted, and I'm saying with a grain of salt and just an if he's a free agent, it wouldn't be shocking if WWE signed him, because they kind of did that with Brian Pillman back in the day when he had his ankle injury and they still signed him. So there you go. But man, he goes into the championship is bigger than the both of us. You're a definition of a killer, and so am I. I'm going to grab the keys and take it. Then Swerve, he hits Samoa Joe. That's when everything just breaks down and everything. He hits him with a chain. He starts choking him. Then Joe headbutts him. Then punches Swerve with the chain wrapped around his hand. Swerve gets busted open. And then after that, Samoa Joe walks up the ramp and Swerve just starts laughing. He starts laughing. And then he's like, I love this shit. It's like, whoa, like, dude, this dude's like, he's lost it. Um, and then he gets, he's still on the mic and he looks at Samoa Joe and he's like, that's all you got? Then I'm taking your championship from you. Samoa Joe just gets this enraged look, walks down there, and he just starts beating up Swerve again. After Swerve signed the contract with his own blood, he takes the pin, does that whole thing, and then Samoa Joe, he takes Swerve and just kind of like rock bottoms him through the table and steps on him. Man, for me, that was one of the most fun and punctual contract signings that I liked. Of course, contract signings we've seen done to death, especially on Raw and SmackDown and WWE and everything, and we've seen it in other places, but that was a very good contract signing. I'm looking forward to this match, and I do got to say, after this contract signing, AEW, with this brawl and just everything that happened, they're really establishing Swerve is the babyface, and they want the fans to have sympathy behind him, behind everything he does. They want the fans to be behind him with everything. They're already chanting "Whose house Swerve house chants," so it's just like, okay, this is gonna be real interesting. It's hard for me to say that Swerve Strickland won't be AEW champion at Dynasty, because the way it looks, it's like foreshadowing that he's going to be AEW World Champion at AEW Dynasty. So I'm looking forward to that. The next thing, man, this was I wouldn't say it was shocking or surprising, but it was interesting how it unfolded. And by interesting, I mean interesting in a good way, not in a bad way. I know some people have this, there's this discourse that Mercedes Moné, oh, they're not doing anything. Oh, this is stupid. Why she's going for the TNT or the TBS championship? This is just dumb. This is like all of this. We also have to keep in mind with Mercedes Moné, she's coming off an injury. So they're not going to be too quick to put her in the ring. And what I liked about this segment was it answered the question, when is Mercedes going to wrestle? It got to that point. So Renee Paquette, she has Willow Nightingale out on stage, and I really liked this angle, the way it was shot, because it had Renee Paquette, it had Willow, Chris, Stokely, and their backs were to the crowd. It wasn't facing the stage, it was to the crowd, and you had the ring in the background, so you can get the crowd and everything. I love that shot. That's a shot that a lot of wrestling companies used in the 80s, but they didn't have stages, but they just had it where it was facing the crowd, and just, it's so cool to have that shot, man, because it just, as a viewer, you're just like, ooh, okay, this is, there's a crowd, all right, what's going to happen? Like, it's just something it's one of those theater of the mind tricks where you're like, okay, there's a crowd, is something going to happen? Is somebody going to attack? Like, what's going to happen? Are they going to brawl? Like, it's subtle things that happen when you have that shot like that. So I like that. Willow, she mentions wrestling in the White Eagle at Worcester, I guess how this is pronounced it. Forgive me, guys. White Eagle. She's like, this is where I figured out who I am. Your cheers reassured me. This applause watered me and made me blossom. You made me so confident. I'm going to beat Julia Hart. Stokely mentions, she's had a banger. That's when Mercedes Moné interrupts Willow, and she mentions, I can't wait to watch you tear it up. Then their CEO chants, and then she mentions, whoever is the TBS champion at Double or Nothing, she is going to face. So, and when I heard that, I was like, man, did she mess up? Like, did Mercedes meant to say, like, whoever is the champion after Dynasty is going to face me at Double or Nothing? Maybe she got her words wrong, but I got the message and everything. But the way she said it, whoever is the TBS champion at Double or Nothing, I get to face. One, she is wrestling at Double or Nothing. Two, what I wish they would do with this, and I wish they would do this, I wish they would play hot potato with the title, so that way we know Mercedes is going to wrestle at Double or Nothing. But what I would like is as they do this, or if they did a hot potato type scenario, you have Mercedes like, man, I really don't know who to prepare for because the title is always changing. Therefore, when we get to Double or Nothing, she's like, man, I really like. She's unsure, and it would be cool if they did that because she's already coming off an injury, and character wise, you would present her like, man, I'm the CEO, but like, man, okay, I'm saying all this stuff. Like, am I the person? Am I this? Am I that? Am I this? It's like, ooh, okay, that's pretty interesting. Um, I'm looking forward to Double or Nothing, watching Mercedes wrestle. Um, I honestly think it could be Willow. I think it's going to be Willow. But man, Julia Hart versus Willow at Dynasty, that is going to be a fun match. Um, the one thing I do wish they would do more of, um, I like that they're focusing on a certain number of women weekly. I like that because it's establishing who the women are. Maybe that's a part of their plan. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's a part of their plan to establish these women as weekly characters and then start reintroducing a lot of the women on the roster, just reestablishing that and then building from there. Maybe that's their what they're doing. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Um, but man, this is going to be fun. Um, I like it. I like it a lot. Willow, Julia Hart, Mercedes. That's going to be fun. Um, once, man, I don't, man. Okay, so we're April, May. Actually, you know what? I take that back. They could do. I wouldn't mind them doing hot potato, but not too much because we're a month away. So, um, take it for what it is, and yeah, just do it once or twice, and then build for Double or Nothing, and keep it at that. But I'm looking forward to Mercedes Moné and whoever she faces at Double or Nothing, because that's going to be a hot ticket. We'll see if a certain MJF returns. We'll see. The next thing that stood out to me, and I like this, it was long overdue. It should have been done a long time ago. Um, you know, within the discourse of Dynamite tonight, a few people mentioned that this should have happened like 2 years ago. Kind of agree with it. Trent Beretta turning on Orange Cassidy after the match between the Best Friends and the Bucks, which the Bucks defeated the Best Friends. And what's interesting about that is the Bucks gave a shout out to the scapegoat, Jack Perry, like, hey, we love your work. The Best Friends, they get in each corner, and then they're gonna do the hug and everything. And as they do that, and as it's unfolding, I'm like, somebody's gonna turn on. Somebody's gonna turn, and I'm like, okay, is it gonna be Chuck and Trent on Orange Cassidy? Is it gonna be Orange Cassidy on Trent? Like, or is it like what's gonna happen? And sure enough, as they're about to hug, Trent Beretta just does this running knee to Orange Cassidy, and he looks at him, and he walks away. And mind you, on the outside is his mom, Sue, and she's just in disbelief. He storms off. I like this. It's fresh. It gives them a different character, different direction. It gives Orange Cassidy something new, but because it just felt like ever since you go back to All Out, where he dropped the international title to Moxley, it just felt like he was just running on fumes, character and storyline wise, and rivalry wise. He was just running on fumes. And it was just like, okay, man, I like Orange Cassidy. And a few people felt that way. Like, man, I like Orange Cassidy, but man, it's just not, man, he needs to drop that title. He needs to drop that title. He needs to drop that title. I'm looking forward to where this goes and what direction they're going to go. This is going to be fun. I like this. there's a little wrinkle to, ooh, okay, there's already all this stuff happening on Dynamite, and in AEW, it's like, ooh, this is a nice wrinkle. Of course, the Young Bucks advanced to the finals for the AEW Tag Team Championship. We'll find out on Collision this Saturday, which is airing at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Central, after the NCAA Final Four and after WrestleMania, which is smart for them to do that. FTR versus Top Flight, so we'll find out who's going to face the Young Bucks, which is more than likely going to be FTR at AEW Dynasty. AEW Dynasty is looking to shaping up to be a very solid pay-per-view with some solid matches with I gotta say some very good stories that are I would say very instrumental in this new direction for AEW. It's not these, oh my god, these stories are great. Some of them are, but it's a nice foundation for where AEW wants to go and where they're headed. So that's going to be really good. The only things that stood out to me tonight that I really didn't care too much for um, were the Chris Jericho hook segment. Um, they have that segment, and then right after, um, you know, you find out that Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty are facing Hook and Jericho. When the segment before, Hook's like, "Yeah, I found our tag team partners." Like, why did you have that segment? You should have just had Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty come out and confront them. I like Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty as a tag team. The Jericho Hook thing is just, it's not clicking. It just feels like it just doesn't resonate or click with me. One thing I did notice, and I'm surprised nobody has brought this up. There is a reason why Chris Jericho keeps using the Lion Tamer entrance. He has not used Judas in a long time. Um, at first, it was like, okay, it's a one-time thing. This is this, but he's been using that for the Lion Tamer thing for quite a while now, and it's like, where's this gonna go? I'm intrigued with where it's gonna go, but how it's being executed is just not clicking. Like, it's just something's gotta be refreshed. I don't know if maybe Chris Jericho needs a new look. Maybe he needs to cut his hair and bring something fresh, because it just feels like we're getting the same Jericho we've gotten since the inception of AEW, and it doesn't feel like Jericho's character has evolved to where AEW is today. The other segment, I enjoy Jay White, the Gun Club, the Acclaimed, Billy Gunn, but that thing needs to wrap up already. Like, it just feels like it's going nowhere. Merge the titles and just send them their separate ways, because it is not clicking. Um, you know, something needs to change when either team comes on and just like, oh god, this story's never ending. Can they be doing something new? It's like, oh my god, like why? Um, that's just, ugh. Like, I just want that story to be over with, and I want the Hook Jericho story to be over with. But that's just me. One other cool thing about tonight, we heard from Penta and Alex Alejandres, and Penta challenged Adam Copeland for the TNT title next week. So we're getting Penta and Adam Copeland next week. That is fun. That should be a really cool match. A match that we probably never expected, but I like that. Also, it was announced from House of Glory that we're getting um, Penta versus Rey Fenix, which means Rey Fenix should be coming back, returning to AEW television soon. So I don't know if this could mean Rey Fenix and Penta reuniting or what have you. We'll see. But man, overall, it was a good episode of Dynamite, with the exception of the two things I mentioned that I really didn't care too much for. And I think many people really aren't digging and clicking with. There were a few audio issues which they corrected, which I don't understand why they keep having audio issues, and it's I don't get it. Um, but man, other than that, you got the Copeland thing going forward. You got the Ospreay Danielson thing going into Dynasty. You got Swerve and Samoa Joe going into the Dynasty. You got Willow Mercedes going into Dynasty and Double or Nothing. You got the Young Bucks and their thing going into the tag team title tournament. You got Trent turning on Orange Cassidy, so where's that going? So you have a lot of things that are moving forward. Some people may not have liked the execution or the speed at which things are executed in AEW, but they are being executed. So again, I thought this was a good episode, with the exception of the two. I'm looking forward to Rampage, how that unfolds. I'm looking forward to Collision after WrestleMania. Looking forward to that. So other than that, man, pro wrestling's fun. There's a lot of wrestling that's happening right now, especially with WrestleMania week. Also, for those of you who watch this review, I will be doing a live watch along Saturday and Sunday for both nights of WrestleMania and the Raw after Mania. So tune in. But man, this was a good Dynamite, man. It was fun with a few exceptions of a few things. I enjoyed it. But that is my review for the April 3rd episode of AEW Dynamite. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications so you are notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian_180 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Fanbase, and you can follow me on Facebook. Never say never. There's never a dull moment in the world of professional wrestling. And man, this week is fun. It's going to be fun, and it's crazy to think we're already at the halfway point, and we're just a few days away from WrestleMania, but I love it. So with that, folks, keep enjoying this week of pro wrestling.